welcome to the Good Girl Confessional podcast. I'm your host, Sandy Lowries, and the Good Girl Confessional podcast is brought to us by WB40, Women Beyond 40 magazine, helping to change the narrative against ageism for women 40 and over. Today in the confessional, I am massively excited to chat with our very special guest, Jo Stanley. Jo is synonymous with radio. She has had an extraordinary career and has been a radio presenter for almost 20 years. She has paved the way for other women as well. She's brilliant, and she is taking all of that hard-won knowledge and actually creating a radio platform called Broad Radio for women, created by women. This is an incredibly exciting initiative. I am so incredibly behind it. She is currently crowdfunding to get this project off the ground, and I just know you're going to love her reasons why she does it and why she's so passionate about it. She's an incredible woman helping other women to rise. Please welcome to the confessional, Jo Stanley. Hello and welcome to the confessional, Jo Stanley. How are you?
I'm really well. It's lovely to see you, Sandy, and hear you.
It's so lovely. And we're both Melbourne-based, and just saying it's nice that the weather's improving slightly.
Oh, man. It's really set to try us. I mean, we know in Melbourne, all we talk about is weather during winter, but somehow we've had a second winter. And I think, come on, that's not what we signed up for.
That's right. Play fair, Melbs. Come on.
Yeah,
Although I was watching all the videos coming up the other day on the media, snowing in Tassie, and it's 2 weeks to summer. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's a crazy old time, and I don't know, you got to be grateful for the sunshine when it shines through your window, which it is now. You can see it on the right side of my face. It's lovely.
It's beautiful today. So I first of all want to say a huge congratulations to you, Jo, because you are doing something that is so incredibly needed in this country and probably around the world, and that is creating a radio station for women, by women.
Yes.
Congratulations.
This is correct. Thanks. Yes. So, yes, Broad Radio is my startup. And, there you go. The light just went out. It lasted about 2 minutes on my face there, Sandy. Sorry about that. You got a shadow in my face. Whatever. Let's move on.
Look, you sound amazing and you still look great. So let's...
there you go. And I should tell your viewers, people who are watching this, that I would move the camera so that I have more light on my face. But my kitchen is just disgusting, so I can't bear to share that with the world. So, so Broad Radio, it's women, it's women-centered radio, by women for women. I've been fortunate enough, incredibly blessed, to have 20 years in the media, in radio, and I love radio. I'm a big fan of the immediacy of it, of the conversation, being interactive with an audience that day, that city, and I love podcasts as well. And I know that women over 40 are really diving into deeper conversations with podcasts. So I suppose my initial hypothesis was, why can't we sort of take that and make it radio, in that let's take those deeper conversations with really interesting people, inspiring people, but let's make it a radio show so that we can actually engage with the audience, interact, callers, talk back, music. At the moment, we have just 1 hour a week on Facebook and YouTube. We live stream, sort of as a minimum viable product, I guess, to use startup speak, of which I have learned. Let me tell you, I didn't know that sort of language a year and a half ago. But when we build and launch the radio station, it will be 24/7 radio network, like you would listen to any other commercial radio network.
It's absolutely phenomenal. And so let's talk about, so you've had this amazing career, and you're really well known in this country.
Well, in Melbourne, maybe. I don't know about the rest of the country. But anyway, move on.
Go with that, Jo. We'll say you
Sure.
are. And so How did the idea firstly come about to say, obviously I can understand the reasoning behind it, but where did the light bulb moment come from?
Um, I guess I just got enough frustration out of not being able to find the radio that I really wanted to listen to. Uh, I guess you grow up. I was 10 years on Fox FM, which is very much an 18 to 35 age bracket. I spent a couple of years on Gold, which is that older age bracket, but doesn't sort of have that female lens. And when I finished on Gold, started looking around for another station that I might like to engage with. And there are others that I do like to listen to, but none of them really were ticking that box of my stage of life, of the fact that we want to laugh, we want to be irreverent, we want to really just own our limitless potential. But at the same time, we're busy and tired. We're struggling with kids who are teenagers and maybe moving out of home even. We're caring for our parents. Our careers are probably most demanding they've ever been. But on the flip side, a lot of women at this age into their 50s and 60s are being pushed out of their careers. So feeling like a real sense of lack of confidence in a lot of ways for some women. And also looking to our, dare I say, retirement and go, oh, what actually is that going to look like as well? How do I plan for that? Lots of my friends are newly separated, looking at their super and going, what even have I got planned for me and my future? And all of these sort of started stewing around in my head. And I was just like, why isn't there radio talking about all of that sort of stuff? Because I just know the power of talkback. I know the power through all my years at Fox particularly. I would hear women say to me, I heard you talk about that and it changed my day and it made me feel less alone. And I want that. I want that for women. I've made it 35 plus because I guess, your Fox FMs and in the demographic world, it sort of is carved up that way, 18 to 35, 35 plus. But for me, it's more about the stage of life than the age, really, and the interests that we have. So I had that light bulb moment. I think, during lockdown last year where I was like, I had been speaking with networks about it prior to that. But then COVID hit and I just sort of, the light bulb moment was, I'm just going to do it myself. Probably because I was sitting around in lockdown.
I think that's fascinating and I love it so much because that's exactly what happened with us in terms of me deciding to launch a magazine for women who are 40 and over, WB40. And it was really really the podcast started a year before that, and the magazine we went, we'll just launch it in the middle of a pandemic, largely because, same as you, very frustrated by the lack of representation for everyday women who are 40 and 50 and 60 and who are doing all these amazing things. They're out there achieving great things and they're vibrant and dynamic and brilliant. But as you say, also on the flip side of that, a lot of them starting to feel very, very invisible in the corporate world or in their jobs or in their family life or different stages of life. Their kids are adults and they're like, well, now what about me and what am I going to do? I do agree. And I think it's such a beautiful thing to see you building something that, as I said earlier, I feel that there's been a massive hole in that industry of really not looking at women. And the really interesting part is that while we are busy and we're juggling, growing children who are growing up and parents on the other side, we also have disposable income at this age group. And we are largely, I was just talking to someone about this morning, but we are largely a massive group who are not being marketed to. And I don't really understand that.
Yeah, there's a lot of research around that. My hypothesis, and that's how I've gone about the startup, because I'm not someone with an MBA. I've just read a lot of books, right? So I had to put this in sort of a paradigm that made sense to me when I was most anxious. And that's how I've approached it, with a hypothesis. And my hypothesis is not just that women are hungry for that content, but women are hungry to be recognised by marketers. We do have a disposable income. There's so much research that shows, not that we control the discretionary spending, but also that we are ignored by marketers. and we love brands. I mean, hello, why are we not? Why? That's why we're always on Instagram, right? It's why we're always, just flicking through the iconic, or, we all have our favorite online shopping site. We love brands. I think that having a really great relationship with the brands that we love is not just an opportunity to actually, keep a station afloat, because let's be honest, we've got to pay people and we want to pay people. That's the other amazing, exciting thing, is that we're creating employment for women who often are overlooked by this industry. But also it's a really great opportunity for women to actually feel recognised by, the brands that they purchase, and okay, let's make it a meaningful conversation. I think there's win-win there.
Oh, absolutely. And as you say, that women who are listening in can have buy-in to that as well. And as you say, not just feel recognized, but feel heard. And I think, they feel heard through other women speaking, and also through a medium where they can call in and say, as you say, talkback radio is powerful, where they can go, oh, somebody heard me. And even if it's for 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, an hour a day, to feel heard and recognized is massive.
Yeah, and it was always my favorite part of being on air, was hearing these incredible stories from people who, people are funny and they're moving and they're clever. They've had extraordinary life experiences. I think it's a crime that the people who are, powerful in the media are the people that happen to have the microphone in front of them, because actually it's the people they're speaking to who are most interesting. And I loved that part of radio. So, yeah, I can't wait for that particular part of the app. When we launch, we'll be able to, it's literally press a button and give us a call, and we're speaking live, and I'm hearing, or not just me, but our co-hosts, whoever is on air, hearing those stories that are so inspiring. I mean, god damn, women do incredible things, and men. I mean, there will be men on the station. It's just that it's all but going to be programmed through a female lens.
And I love that as well, because I think, as you say, it's not been done before in Australia. And yet there's a massive, massive demographic who no doubt will be tuning in. And I'm hearing a lot of buzz through all the women that I talk to. They're already aware of, broad radio, and that's testament to you. But it means also that people are hungry for it.
Yeah, I hope they are. I mean, we've been lucky enough so far. We've run a crowdfund campaign. We started mid-October. We've got, at the moment, 8 days left. So it finishes on the 26th of November. And we set a $50,000 target. We're at 53,000 at the moment with 8 days to go. And we've had over 200 contributors to that. And that is real demonstration to me that there's a hunger for it, because, my God, Sandy, people are giving us, their $25 for a tea towel, or, $10 donation, or, right, some much more than that. And I can't believe it. I can't believe how generous people are, but it is because there's a hunger for it.
I think it's fantastic. I really do. And, one of the reasons why I really wanted to chat with you today is because I wanted our listeners to be able to know about this crowdfunding activity that is going on. But there is some amazing merchandise that people can buy, which goes towards the funding, or they can make a donation, which is really exciting. And there's really exciting things already happening. You say it's only 1 hour a week, but for anyone who tunes in, it's dynamic and it's fun, and you've got great people on. And, I just think that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's been a joy to put together that 1 hour a week. It's challenging because I really wish I had 24/7 to program, to be honest. There's so much out there and so many incredible people to speak with. But yes, an average show, well, the show we had last week, we had Tanya Doko from Bachelor Girls singing for us, Hannah Asafiri, who is a Melbourne icon and incredible Oh, sorry, that's my phone. How deeply annoying for you. I'm such an
I
amateur,
love it.
Sandy. I'm
I love
such
this
an
because it's just life. Like it's real life. It's the best.
But Hannah Asafiri is, to me, a bit of a feminist icon, and she really she fights for gender equality in community. She's a co-founder of a grassroots movement called Sister Hub that is for Muslim women. So we had Hannah on, Tanya Doko, and then sort of in between, oh, who else was the third person? Now I've got a blank. But the point is, that sort of.
I know, because you were
Oh,
talking
I know. It was
about.
Nicola Dolphy. That's right, from The Iconic. And we were talking about how on earth do we dress Nicole? She's the head of style
I know,
at
how
The Iconic.
amazing.
Yeah, so, that's the kind of variety that we might have in there. This coming Tuesday, we've got Clementine Ford, who we all know, extraordinary writer, and we absolutely love her.
Brilliant.
We've had some amazing authors on, but we've also got Dr. Kathleen McNamee, who's from Family Planning Victoria, who's going to be talking about this incredible development in cervical screening where you can do it at home, and how unbelievably important that is for
Wow.
so many groups of women who just culturally or just really personality wise don't want to go and have a screening at a doctor. So we're going to be speaking with her. So we are able to talk about everything from feminism, gender equality and women's safety, through to health, through to women in leadership, through to the arts and music. And it's so amazing. We just love it.
Oh, it's fantastic. And there's just so much to bloody talk about. That's the thing.
Oh my God.
And
Yes.
to know that it's female driven, I think when you look at the world through a female lens, as we know, stuff doesn't normally get discussed, like menopause and or whatever, women's health, and we keep seeing these things come up on 60 Minutes or wherever we're going, taboo, breaking the taboo. Like 50% of the damn population goes through this, boy.
Oh God, I find that so funny, and I can't tell you, Sandy, the joy. The first sort of month, I found myself sort of catching myself, almost censoring, because I've come from a world where, your absolute number one job in radio, doesn't matter what station you're on, your number one job is to create content for your audience. It's not about you. It's not about actually what you want to talk about. Now, I think I'm pretty good at that. I suppose that skill is what meant that we had a number one, record-breaking show on the Matt and Jo show. It's the reason that, Joe and Limo went to number one on Gold, because that is a skill that I have, right? And I love it. I love being able to, with true empathy, put myself in my audience's shoes and go, what are people talking about today? But that's always come with, I guess, a slight self-censor in a way, because that's my job. So I caught myself in the first month of doing the live stream. I'd sort of pull back, or I'd and then I'd have to go, hell's no, man. You answer to no one, right? You answer to no one. Oh my God, the freeing sensation. But the other thing, as you say, I'm like, actually, there is no taboo here. There's no taboo, because women don't need taboos. In fact, women have no interest in taboos. It's only the largely men, but the establishment that decides what is polite, or what is respectable, or what is actually palatable to us. Those people decide what is taboo. Fuck that. We don't have taboos, right? We all know when we get together, we will share what needs to be shared. And there's never, ever any kind of censor, right? So, yes, menopause. We did a whole episode on menopause. It was our top rating show. Because women want to know, and women want to talk about it. And they want to talk about not just what's happening to their body, they want to talk about having a great sex life as long as they want to, right? Let's be sexual beings for as long as we want to. And let's be sexual beings no matter how we look as well. So, yeah, it's been awesome to be able to go to myself, as much as our audience and anybody else who might be connecting with us, that there's no taboos here. And we'll talk about what's important to women. Thanks very much.
I love that.
Yeah.
Amen, sister. I love it.
Yeah.
I think that there is something really liberating about that. And I think, when The same when we started the magazine, it was the same. We were like, there are no taboos here. And I had really amazing women wanting to be involved. And some of them did say, oh, I don't know, do you think you should be talking about that? And I went, well, fuck yes, actually, I do think we should be talking about it. And we do. And like we constantly have articles about sex for women in this age demographic, and we talk about menopause and we talk about, you know, heart health, but we talk about a whole lot of stuff. And I just think there shouldn't be any taboos. I mean, we talk about grief and we talk about, you know, there's a whole lot of things that women go through and experience, and, you know, biologically we face. It's a reality, you know, and I think that obviously the fact that your menopause episode was your highest rating, it tells you a lot, right? It says women are hungry for this stuff. We don't want to censor ourselves anymore.
Well, you know why they're hungry? It's because it's hard to get the information, which is ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous.
Crazy.
And we had the beautiful Cass Cook on the show. She's written this great book called I know that the byline is all the bad and bonkers advice given to women. You're doing it wrong. That's what the book is called. You're doing it wrong. And she talked about, so the book is basically so well researched, as only Cass Cook can do. She's extraordinary, right? And it's really a very hefty kind of book that just lists all the lies that she could come discover that have been told to women over the years, from like over centuries, from the health profession to whoever, the clergy, all of those sort of institutions. And one of the things she said is you've got to think about why people tell you things, what's in it for them, right? And particularly when it comes to things like women's health, A, the research has never been done because of the gender bias. B, they don't want us to know because we are controlled that way. And you think about, we're supposed to be embarrassed about our period. So from the moment we're going through puberty, we're sort of told there's something wrong with us by our basic biological function. And that is carried through when you get pregnant, when you have miscarriages, when you have whatever goes on with your body, prolapse uterus.
All of it, right?
All of it. I don't mean to laugh.
Endometriosis, all of it. All the things women go through.
That, right? We're
right?
silenced.
Breast cancer, whatever it may be.
Exactly. We are silenced because somehow it's dirty, or we're supposed to be ashamed or something. It's like, no, this is my body, and it's not just not to be something ashamed of. It's something to be proud of, but let's kind of allow me to be fully informed so that I can be healthy, so that I can like it. How are we supposed to fully accept ourselves if you keep knowledge from me?
Oh, 100%. I agree. It's craziness. And I think that the more women who are out there using their platforms for that greater good, then the better for all of us. Because, I'm constantly saying this. Half the problem is too for women. The moment you go through perimenopause or menopause is that most GPs will either tell you that you're depressed and you need antidepressants, or that it's all in your head, or basically suck it up. Yeah, you're in it, but this is how it is. I was saying that, breakthrough for me was going to an amazing female GP where I said, well, I think this is what's happening. I think I'm perimenopausal. She did all the blood tests and went, yep. And I don't think women should suffer needlessly, is what she said. And let's talk about all the options you have. And I was like, what? I mean, I think that's amazing as well. But the problem is, and someone was telling me this the other day, the problem is that doctors go through many, many years of medical school to learn what their job, but they apparently do very, very little study on menopause. And yet half of society will be faced with it. It's quite extraordinary. And we can't expect GPs to actually advise us and help us if they don't even know themselves. And there's something flawed in that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that strangely, I think, well, because I do a show called The House of Wellness, which is my, bread and butter show, and I love it. And I interview incredible people from all walks of the sort of health and wellness and medical sort of walks of life. And the amount of times I've heard people say, doctors say, in medical school, we're not taught a lot about da, 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 like dot, dot, dot. And it's not just things like menopause and hormones, not really spoken about much. Nutrition, they don't really learn a lot about that in medical school. Like there are so many things, and I'm frequently left going, what do you learn? And,
Well, I believe
you
they
know,
learn about the prostate, and I believe,
oh,
right? It's quite fascinating, but you're right. It's crazy. So what do they
mm,
know? And that's the thing. They're generalists. They're not
yeah.
specialized. But even so, you'd think they might actually, teach GPs, medical professionals, about menopause.
You would, but I mean, and I sort of feel for I feel for the GPs as well. Like, I don't actually want to, this is not a GP bashing session, because I think that they,
Oh God,
you know,
no.
generally speaking, they're working very hard and incredibly difficult sort of job. For me, it's about the way our children are taught in school from the very beginning, you know, prep upwards when they start doing whatever they call sex education these days. I can't remember, they change it all the time. But it's about teaching boys and girls that their feelings are valid and their needs are valid, and that, you know, that they can have a real sense of love for themselves.
Yeah.
That comes, and if you sort of, I try to instill that in my daughter, because I want her to be able to sit in a doctor's surgery and say, yeah, I reckon I'd like a second opinion. I reckon I feel like I know what's going on with my body, and you might be dismissing me right now. So I think I'm gonna either, if you're not going to do the tests that I'd like, I'm going to go somewhere else, because we know that it takes on average 7 years for endometriosis to be diagnosed, right? We
Correct.
know that one of the reasons why ovarian cancer has such a terribly sad mortality rate is because women are frequently overlooked when they have symptoms, because they're kind of a generalized symptom set. You know, we know these things. And what we want is to instill in everyone, but particularly our girls, because we know that they are ignored by the medical profession, to, to feel empowered to say, no, I want more, please.
Yeah, and I think that's so important. I've got a 23-year-old daughter and two boys, and I just think for my daughter to be able to, and recently, she did go and have some tests done, and I think it's so important that, and she did push and sort of say, well, I feel
Mm.
something's going on. And eventually they went, okay, let's send you for a test. As it turned out, there was something going on. And I've always sort of tried to teach her, and you're right, there should be generally, it should be taught in schools too. You know your own body, and if you
Yeah.
feel that something isn't right, trust yourself.
Yeah.
Get a second
Yeah.
opinion or a third opinion if you need one.
And you will meet people who want to dismiss you, not just, in the medical profession, everywhere. Um, and I look, trust me, I have been the kind of person, I'm very timid, and I've been very scared to speak up for my own rights and needs in my life. So it's easy for me now at 49 to say that, because I think one of the things that's handed to you at some point during your 40s is a massive dose of I don't give a shit. It's like the greatest gift when it arrives somehow magically in your person. It's like, oh, that's what. Oh, that's really cool. And I never thought it would happen to me, but it did. Just like whiskers in your chin, it always happens eventually.
Eventually.
But I would like for our younger women to have that much earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And for them to have a real sense of, as you say, just ownership over their bodies and what they feel is right for them and isn't right for them. And I agree. I think that we are largely and have been, always controlled by society. And but what I am seeing is more and more women in their 40s and 50s who are stepping up and saying, well, no one else is going to do this, so I am going to do it. And I think, and you're one of them, clearly, starting Broad Radio. I think if there are enough women around the world who put their hand up and say, we're important, our voices matter, our stories matter, it makes other women feel that they have a voice as well, that they can speak up. And I think that's so incredibly important.
Yeah, it is exciting. I definitely think there's a movement. It's a very simple Google to see the huge amounts of online platforms, podcast platforms, fantastic networks for women in media. There's a huge amount happening, and the democratization of the media is very inspiring. It's very exciting because the big guys don't have the power that they used to have. That's amazing to me, and I'm really excited to be a part of that movement. I'm not doing it alone. There's there's Women's Agenda, there's Tonic, which is a beautiful online,
right,
incredible. Marina Go set that up, and it's there's so much that it's really exciting. I will say though, that's great, but give us a bit of a go in the big leagues as well. It really sort of pisses me off that we all work very hard, and let's face it, I'm guessing, because I'm sure you've bootstrapped what you're doing and I'm bootstrapping what I'm doing. It's a shitload of work for no income. In fact, you put your own money into it, right? So it kind of pisses me off that we have to do that to get any kind of traction and to reach an audience that we know is there, when the big guys have millions of dollars and don't give us anything like an equal footing in those media outlets. The fantastic report that was handed down yesterday or the day before it was launched by Women's Leadership Institute Australia. I am reading this because I want to get it exactly right, but it's the Women for Media report. I think it's the 5th one that has been released by Jenna Price and Blair Williams. And, it's extraordinarily important research, actual data that demonstrates, how few of the words that are printed are by women, how few of the words that are quoted are by women, how women are not allowed to speak about finance or politics or, very rarely STEM. Even opinion pieces are more likely to be by men. It's that kind of thing where I go, well, look, we're all working very hard and we're having an impact worldwide, no question, because there is a movement. Absolutely, and it's exciting to be a part of that movement. But I also kind of go, you can only do so much on a startup budget. And Jesus, we've got to keep fighting for the big guys to have some footing there as well.
100% true. And I do think, and anyone can Google this and it will find out that it's true, that the lack of investment into female startups is actually quite frightening. It's really awful. And I've told this story, but I'll
3%.
tell you again. It's crazy. It's, I actually met with a couple of investors before I started WB40, before I started the platform, because I thought, maybe I need investors and, everyone gives you all this advice. And I met with a couple of them who were men who said to me, they listened to me and then they said, I can't see that anyone's really going to be interested in the stories of women, especially those over 40. And that lit a fire under me, and which is why I bootstrapped it and why I went out and did it anyway. But it shouldn't be like that. We shouldn't have to fight really hard to get investment into ideas that are worthwhile. And as you say, when there's millions of dollars being sunk into male startups that may or may not make it, we're not on an even playing field. You're 100% right.
No, and that is very frustrating from a startup point of view. I mean, you've got Nine Honey, you've got Future Women, like the large organizations do have platforms for our audience. But again, it's like a subsidiary. I'm like, why? Why? Why are we always relegated to it's like we're sort of off Broadway all the time.
Oh, yeah, we're definitely off Broadway, Jo. I love that, but it's true. But it shouldn't be. But if you look at really successful women who have done their thing, isn't that proof enough that there's such a massive audience out there for it? We only have to think about, the Oprahs and the Allens and whoever. There's an audience out there who love this stuff, crave this stuff. And there's plenty of room for so many women to rise and for so many women to succeed. And as you say, it's just about getting your foot in the door. And so because of that and how important it is, I love that you are crowdfunding. I think I hate that you have to, but I think it's massively important that you are. And, I want to tell all of our listeners, and we'll put up all the links because it's really important to get as much money behind your project as possible to get this off the ground.
Yeah, I'm so grateful, Sandy, for that. So we're on Indiegogo. You can just search Broad Radio. We're there, as I said, till the 26th of November. And our initial goal was 50,000 to build an app, because to me, live streaming on Facebook and YouTube, that's all very well, but people really can't do that when they're in their car or when they're out power walking, which, as we know, is how women ingest audio, basically, in your car or you're out with you, doing the tan. So that was really critical to us. So the app was sort of our main target. But really what you're doing by contributing, and as you said, there's merch, so there's tea towels and T-shirts, and there's little baby onesie, or there's a tote bag, or, keep cups and that sort of stuff. Or there's experiences, you can purchase a personalised message from me. God knows why you would want to, but I'm very happy to do that. And a few people have. And I did joke with
Come
my
on,
mum.
why wouldn't they want that?
I know. Well, my mum's like, you never call me. I said, well, buy a personalised message, mate. But also there's some business packages there where we can feature you on Broad Radio and put an advertising budget behind you as well and get you some gorgeous reach for your business to our audience. So there's lots of different things there. But what you're doing when you contribute is, of course, you're helping us get to the app and whatever happens after that, which is studio hire and, marketing and advertising and all the really boring but important things you need to do when you're launching an app and a radio station. But also you're contributing to employment. I have this very small but incredible team of women who have been with me right from the start. I insist on paying everybody, and I would say I don't pay very well, but I pay everyone. And my goal is to keep doing that. It's important that women are paid because we often are the ones that get asked to work for free. We, volunteer often because we believe in it and we love what we're doing. But it's important to me that I am able to, as we build, create more opportunity for, again, in the industry, I hear so often women saying, I used to, I started when I was 22, 23 and I loved it. But by the time I got to 27, it was just clear there was no pathway for me. So I left the industry, and I'm like, oh my God, so many mediocre men stayed and you left.
Yeah, right, right.
It's just, yeah. So yeah, that's what you're contributing to with Indiegogo, with our campaign. It's for women to have a voice, and diverse women of colour, Aboriginal women, and women with disabilities, and it's just really LGBTQI. Like it's all of the voices and the stories, these rich stories that we don't hear enough.
And there are so many incredible stories out there. Our magazine is filled with them, and, just incredible women who are brave and brilliant and share their stories, but also the wonderful women who interview them and who get their story out there, and on the podcast as well. I love your radio show. I love it. And, as you were talking about your last episode, I was really hooked because I was like, I've forgotten how to dress myself to go.
Well, you look glorious in your pink jacket today. I love that.
Occasionally I think I'll do some colour because I'm very much a Melbourne girl and I live in black.
Yeah.
I try.
No, I hear that.
But I can see that you have this most beautiful website as well. Everyone should jump on there, and it is broadradio.com.au. And you have a new show coming up next week. And as you said, talking to Clementine Ford and Kerry Sackville and
Dr. Kathleen McNamee. Yes.
Yeah, beautiful.
And my co-host is Bianca Chatfield as well, and that's the other thing, like we've had the best conversations about sport this year with lots of amazing sports women who, that's a whole other kettle of fish. Like wouldn't it be awesome? This is my dream when we launch, that we have like a Saturday morning, a good old traditional Saturday morning show about sport, but it's hosted by women.
Hosted by women.
Isn't
What?
that like what a groundbreaking thing? So Bianca Chatfield is a former Australian netballer, and she's also does incredible stuff in leadership. So she's my co-host this Tuesday. But yeah, like there's just that whole, we've seen with Out of Sanctum and with Siren Sport, and there are just so many great platforms really pushing women's sport, but also women who love sport, whether it's men or women playing it.
Exactly.
Just let's get some female commentators out there. And that's really exciting to me to be able to explore more of that.
That is so exciting. As I said, I will put all the links up to Broad Radio where they can go and donate money or buy some merch or support this incredible cause. And I know everybody is going to love it. Every woman who is in this age demographic is just going to love it.
Thank you so much, Sandy. And let me just also mention, when we launch, there'll be lots of music as well. Because that's the other thing. Like, where do we hear music that's not top 40? I love Double J for that. Love it. So, I'm kind of inspired by the sorts of music that they play. But women who, and we've been able to have that this year as well on the show, women who are, God, voices are just breathtaking and should be superstars, but just sort of exist on the fringe. I'm like, why is that? That makes no sense.
I don't know. It is crazy. We just recently had Adelita on the podcast, and we did an interview with her in the magazine. Just brilliant. We did a feature on
amazing.
Oh, brilliant. Just incredible. Yeah. But as you say, there's all these extraordinary women out there doing really cool things, and they weirdly get overlooked on mainstream radio or in mainstream media. But yes, there's some pretty amazing people. I, for one, cannot wait. I'm loving it already. I can't wait for it to expand. It's going to be incredible. Congratulations to you, Jo.
And you too, Sandy. Thank you so much. I love the covers of your magazines. Tell me, because it's been all about me.
Pretty.
They're so beautiful. The actual, a heart, like a, what do you call it? Like an input. IRL magazine rather than an online magazine.
Yeah.
How terrifying was that to launch? Like, that's a big step.
Crazy and terrifying and exciting. I tend to do a lot of things in my life, Jo, where I look back and think, had I realised what was going to be involved, maybe I wouldn't have done it.
Oh my God, preach it, sister.
Right? Yeah. It was scary, but I started a blog back in 2013 talking about sex, dating and relationships for women over 40. And it kind of took off, and, it got recognised in our magazine, and a whole lot of things happened. And we had these really beautiful readership that sort of just followed along. And then I say we, but it was only me. I was by myself at that point. And then she sort of grew up, this blog, and developed eventually into the podcast, The Good Girl Confessional, which was really great because I was more interested in hearing the stories of other women than I was about hearing myself prattle on. And
oh my God, and preach, sister. Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you go, I've told my story now. I want to hear everyone else's, which was great. But I really always wanted to bring out a magazine, and I didn't really know how I was going to do it. But in talking to our readership and putting it out there and speaking to a whole lot of women in this age demographic, they were like, I'd love like a print magazine. No one does them, and they're sort of going by the wayside. But also too, people were sick of celebrity clickbait type of bullshit. They were sick of articles telling women, basically body shaming us, that how to lose 5 kilos in 5 weeks, or how to get the perfect bikini body, or whatever, or what was going on with Brangelina, or whatever. And for me too, and I couldn't really find, I was exactly the same as you in that way. I couldn't find a magazine that really spoke to me in the way I wanted it to. So we created one, and I put it out there to all these amazing female writers that I knew, and was inundated with, offers of support and help, and they would write and edit and do things. And then for me, I really decided, well, if it's going to print, if we're going to be ballsy enough to do it, then I wanted the covers to be almost collector's items, if you like, and to be beautiful and represent women. And so we came up with the idea to put the artwork of female artists on each cover, and each cover's different. And so that, and all the articles are kind of timeless, you know, so it's really nice. You can collect them and put them on your coffee table, and they don't date because they're quite lovely. And it was a really gutsy move to do it. I've had a lot of people say to me, if you put women on the, you know, well-known women on those covers, you'd sell more. But it didn't really align with what we were trying to do. And what we were trying to do was feature as many women within each edition as we could. And that was artists, and it was writers, and it was everyday women telling their stories, and some well-known women who are sharing their stories. That was really important to us. And so, you know, there's all these incredibly talented people in this country who just came on board so generously for us, including Kerry Sackville and including like Carly Finlay. And there's so many, Tracy Spicer, who's been on the podcast, and just, you know, Adelaida, a whole lot of people who just said, yes, I'll tell my story, or I'll share, or I'll write, or I'll do whatever. The generosity of women is pretty incredible. And so, yes, was it scary to put it in print? It absolutely was. Time will tell whether or not we're just nuts. But the feedback that we get is overwhelmingly positive. And we get all of these readers send us beautiful photos of themselves with the magazine in really cool places, like whether it's in the bath and they're reading it, or they're, you know, out in nature, and, you know, just beautiful. It's lovely to see it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's so they are beautiful magazines. So congratulations on those. But also what you're talking about there, which I think is really critical in any kind of anytime you have a goal, and let's call it a startup, whatever that startup might be. Startup is just a word for making something out of nothing, right? And I think what you've done and what you're highlighting there is really working out your purpose, but what's unique for you, and also setting yourself your boundaries right from the beginning. This is what we're going to do right from the start, and we won't sway from that. Which is obviously your point of difference, and that's your uniqueness in the world. It's beautiful. You've done a really gorgeous job of that.
Oh, well, thank you. And within the pages, I mean, we do share images of the beautiful women that we're sharing their stories, and these women come from very diverse backgrounds, and, you know, and they've come from very different walks of life, and so they share that kind of what we like to call hard-won wisdom. Because as we know, Jo, no one hands it to us on a silver platter.
No, that's true. Although I do want to acknowledge that, you know, I am coming from a place of privilege as far as being, I'm a white cisgendered woman. It's, you know,
Absolutely.
and I've worked in commercial radio, so I'm very fortunate to have had that experience. So I need to acknowledge that there's most definitely privilege that I bring with myself. But you're right, generally speaking, as a woman in the media particularly, no one's handing you anything, no.
Right, that's true. And you know, we fight and scratch for our own wisdom, really. And so I think having platforms, whether, you know, it's mine or your amazing one, for women to be able to share that is so incredibly important. And as you say, yes, as white women, we come from a place of privilege, but it's what we do with it. And I think if we're using it to get the stories of other women out there who, for whatever reason, get overlooked in mainstream media, then this is vital and important.
It's exciting. It's and it's thrilling to hear stories. Thrilling. I love it. Yay. Thanks, Sandy. I just love this
Congratulations
chat.
to you. It's going to be great. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. And thanks for all the love. I really, really appreciate it.
We're huge supporters.
Thanks for listening to the Good Girl Confessional podcast. The Good Girl Confessional podcast is brought to you by WB40, Women Beyond 40 magazine, available now at WB40.com. The Good Girl Confessional podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to quality podcasts. We're also now available on YouTube. We chat with really interesting women about their hard-won wisdom, but it really helps us if you can subscribe, like, and share the podcast. Thanks so much for your support. Bye for now.